Be me, 32, married to Selena for 6 years. Normal suburban life. She works at a bank. I'm in software development. We have a decent house with normal amounts of stuff like regular humans. Selena's always been organized but not obsessive about it. Then her sister comes to visit, brings some book about minimalism, the life-changing magic of not having shit or whatever it was called. Selena reads it in 2 days. Eyes get this weird sparkle. Honey, we need to talk about our lifestyle choices. Uh-oh, this sounds like therapy speak already. She starts explaining how possessions are weighing down our souls. Apparently, our coffee table books are preventing us from achieving enlightenment. We need to embrace intentional living and declutter our space. Sure, babe. Whatever makes you happy, thinking it's just a phase. A week later, come home from work to find she's thrown away my magazines. You hadn't read those in months, they were just collecting dust. Tell her she needs to ask before throwing away my stuff. This isn't negotiable. She rolls her eyes, says I'm being materialistic and resistant to growth. Next day, my old college textbooks are gone. When was the last time you referenced your calculus book from 2010? Doesn't matter when I use them, they're mine and you don't touch them. She's walking around the house with garbage bags like some decluttering grim reaper. Every item we own should spark joy or serve a purpose. My beer can collection apparently sparked neither joy nor purpose. Found 20 years of carefully curated beer cans in our dumpster. Drag them back inside, tell her this shit stops now. You're being irrational about aluminum trash. This proves my point. Irrational is throwing away someone's collection without permission. Crazy woman. Starts attacking my closet next. Claims I have too many t-shirts. Catch her mid-purge. Snatch my clothes back from her donation pile. You only wear like 5 of these regularly. Why keep 30? Because they're my clothes and I'll keep whatever the hell I want. She gets pissy when I move everything back to my closet. You're sabotaging our minimalism journey. We're supposed to be a team. Teams don't make unilateral decisions about each other's property. Her minimalism crusade escalates to kitchen appliances while I'm at work. Come home to find my waffle iron in a garbage bag. We don't need a blender, food processor, and smoothie maker. Drag everything back out of the bags, tell her to keep her hands off my kitchen. You're being possessive about objects that don't matter. What matters is you asking before touching my stuff. Basic respect. She tries throwing away my waffle iron again the next day. Hide it in my car trunk, bring it back when she's asleep. This woman thinks she can ninja purge my belongings when I'm not looking. Starts questioning every item in our house like an interrogator. When did you last use this pizza stone? Yesterday, and even if it was never, it stays because I said so. Why do we own 3 different types of scissors? Because different scissors do different jobs. Einstein. I'm not living with the decluttering police. Every possession doesn't need justification. She discovers some minimalism influencer on Instagram who owns 12 items total. Now she's inspired to reach advanced minimalism levels. Comes home with more garbage bags and that manic organization gleam. Today we're tackling the garage. It's full of unnecessary stuff. Block the garage door. Tell her she's not touching my workshop. My tools build half our furniture. They're staying put. You can just rent tools when you need them. It's more economical. Or I can own tools like a normal adult man with a functioning household. She tries sneaking into the garage while I'm in the shower. Catch her red-handed with my drill in a donation box. Take all my tools to work, lock them in my office overnight. Coworkers think I'm nuts, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Come home to find she's thrown away my entire comic book collection. They're just stories on paper. You can read them digitally. 25 years of collecting gone. Some issues were worth serious money. Lose my absolute shit, start screaming about boundaries and respect. You had no right to touch those, some of them belonged to my dad. She starts crying about how I'm being mean and unsupportive. I'm being mean? You just threw away irreplaceable family heirlooms. Call her sister to come get this book that started this whole mess. Minimalism is about conscious choices, not theft and destruction. Her sister agrees. Selena's taken this too far, tries talking sense into her. Selena doubles down, says we're all slaves to material possessions, starts throwing away sentimental items without asking, tries to toss old photo albums because everything's digital now. Physically wrestle the albums away from her, lock them in my car. You're being ridiculous, they're just pictures. They're memories, you psycho, memories of our life together. She goes for my grandfather's watch next, the one that survived World War II. Catch her trying to sneak it into a donation bag. Grab her wrist, take the watch back, tell her she's crossed the line. Attachment to material things is holding you back from growth. Attachment to sanity is keeping me from divorcing your crazy ass. Start keeping all important items at work because home isn't safe anymore. My desk drawer becomes a refugee camp for endangered possessions. Coworkers are worried about my marriage, they should be. Selena discovers digital minimalism next, cancels all my streaming subscriptions. Log in to find Netflix, Disney Plus, everything gone. We only need one service. Why pay for multiple platforms? Because I earn the money and I'll spend it how I want. Sign back up for everything. Change all the passwords. She throws a tantrum about me undermining her financial decisions. Your financial decisions about my money for my entertainment. Got it. Starts timing how long I spend looking at things to justify throwing them away. You haven't touched that book in 3 minutes. You don't want it. I was literally reading it. Just pause to process the information. Tell her if she times me one more time. I'm timing how long until divorce. Creates a 1-year rule for everything in the house. If we haven't used something in 12 months, it gets tossed. My emergency camping gear fails her arbitrary test. If we haven't had an emergency requiring tents, we don't need them. That's not how emergencies work. They're unpredictable by definition. Move all my camping gear to a storage unit she doesn't know about. She can minimalize her own shit, mine is off limits. Discovers my retro gaming collection in the basement, eyes light up with purging excitement. These ancient Nintendo games are digital hoarding. Everything's available online now. Physically block her path to my gaming setup. Tell her to back off. Some of those games are worth hundreds. You're not touching them. She tries to guilt trip me about living in the past through video games. I'm living in the present, where I own things that make me happy. Catch her trying to sneak my GameCube into a trash bag the next morning. Move the entire collection to my buddy Jake's house for safekeeping. Selena accuses me of being secretive and hiding things from her. I'm protecting my property from a woman who's lost her damn mind. While going through my closet, finds my childhood nostalgia box on the top shelf. It's a small container with old drawings, Pokemon cards, random keepsakes. What is this random junk taking up space in our organized closet? Tell her it's personal stuff from when I was a kid, hands off. You're 32, why are you hoarding children's artwork and cartoon cards? Because they're mine and they matter to me, reason enough. She tries to grab the box, I snatch it back and hold it away from her. This is exactly the kind of meaningless clutter weighing down your spirit. What's weighing down my spirit is living with someone who destroys everything I care about. You're being childish about cardboard and crayon scribbles. You're being a heartless bitch about irreplaceable childhood memories. Lock the box in my car with everything else she's tried to steal. Starts questioning why we own furniture beyond absolute basics. Suggests getting rid of our dining table because we eat on the couch anyway. We eat on the couch because you threw away our placemats and napkins. Tell her the furniture stays or she can find somewhere else to live. Discovers extreme minimalism blogs and videos online. These people live in empty rooms with a mattress and 2 outfits. She starts talking about true freedom through radical simplicity. Sounds like mental illness with good marketing to me. Tries to throw away my computer setup because phones can do everything. This is where I put my foot down hard. I need that equipment for work. You're being materialistic about objects that don't define you. They define my ability to pay the mortgage you're trying to sabotage. She starts crying about how I'm not supporting her journey. This is about becoming our best selves through intentional choices. Our best selves don't involve one person terrorizing the other's belongings. Friends stage an intervention, tell her she's gone completely off the rails. Selena accuses them of being trapped in consumerist mindsets. You're all slaves to your possessions. I'm trying to be free. Free to drive your husband insane with your controlling behavior. Her own family starts getting concerned when she visits. She threw away childhood photos from her parents' house during dinner. Memories should live in our hearts, not cluttering up photo albums. Her mom threatens to ban her from the house if she touches anything else. I'm secretly hoping this intervention makes her realize she's completely lost it. Instead, she doubles down, says everyone else is living unconsciously. Starts a minimalism blog called Less is Liberation. Documents her journey of trying to throw away everything we own. Gets like 12 followers, mostly other people having mental breakdowns. Decides we need to downsize our house because we don't need the space. Why pay for rooms we don't use when we could live in a studio? Because storage exists, and I'm not living in a closet with you. Tries to put our house on the market without telling me. Call the realtor, cancel the listing, tell Selena she's lost her mind. I thought you'd be excited about simplifying our living situation. Excited about being homeless because you read a self-help book? Hard pass. She starts getting weird about me bringing anything new into the house. Buy a plant to make the place less depressing. She throws it away immediately. Plants require maintenance and create clutter. We agreed on simplicity. We agreed on nothing. You've been making crazy decisions for months. Buy 3 more plants out of spite. Dare her to throw them away. Friends won't visit because our place looks like a mental institution. Can't host game night when your wife throws away games and furniture. Selena says, this is perfect because socializing was distracting us anyway. From what? Staring at empty walls and questioning your sanity. 3 months into this nightmare, something weird starts happening. Catch her sneaking packages into the apartment at odd hours. Claims they're work supplies, but she works at a bank, not Amazon. Start noticing new items appearing and disappearing randomly. A decorative candle shows up, gone by evening. Fancy throw pillow appears on our single chair, vanishes overnight. She's definitely hiding something, but continues preaching minimalism. Decide to investigate, follow her after work one day. She goes to Target and fills an entire shopping cart with random crap. Decorations, kitchen gadgets, clothes, all the things she's been condemning. Watch her load everything into a storage unit across town. This crazy woman has been secretly hoarding while forcing me to live like a monk. Confront her that night with photos of her shopping spree. She breaks down crying immediately, can't even deny it. I couldn't handle living with nothing, but I was too proud to admit it. Turns out she's been buying stuff compulsively and hiding it from me. The storage unit is packed with thousands of dollars worth of random purchases. I thought if I could just push through the discomfort, I'd find enlightenment. Instead, she found crippling anxiety and shopping addiction while making me miserable. Every time I threw away your stuff, I felt more empty inside. So she filled the void by secretly buying more crap than we ever owned. I was trying to prove minimalism worked, but I was depressed every day. The whole philosophical journey was just masking deeper control issues. Tell her she's getting therapy or I'm filing for divorce. No negotiation. We spend the weekend moving everything back from the storage unit. Our apartment becomes completely packed with her panic purchases. Looks like a warehouse explosion. Stuff stacked to the ceiling everywhere. I may have overcompensated a little bit, she says, climbing over boxes. A little bit. Our living room looks like an episode of Hoarders. Takes 3 days just to organize her impulse buying into categories. She bought 17 different types of kitchen utensils we don't need. Apparently when you can't own anything, everything seems essential. Make her return what she can, donate the rest to actual charity. Move back to a normal-sized place with reasonable amounts of stuff. Selena starts therapy to deal with her control issues and anxiety. Turns out the minimalism was never about simplicity, it was about controlling me. I felt overwhelmed by life, so I tried to control our environment completely. Makes sense. Easier to throw away my stuff than deal with your problems. She apologizes for destroying my collections and trying to control everything. Some things can be replaced, others are gone forever, but at least she's getting help. 6 months later, we have a normal house with normal amounts of stuff. She still keeps things organized but doesn't require philosophical justification for owning a toaster. Learned that extreme lifestyle changes are usually masking something deeper. Also learned to stand up for myself when someone tries to control my life. Now, when she discovers new self-help trends, I set boundaries immediately. Marriage works better when both people get a vote on major decisions. Who knew basic respect was the key to domestic harmony? BB 29, married to Rose for 4 years. She's a marketing coordinator. I work in accounting. Pretty normal life. Rose has always been dramatic, but in a fun way. Tells great stories at parties. Pandemic hits. Everyone's stuck at home looking for new hobbies. Rose discovers podcasts, becomes obsessed with true crime and self-help shows. Babe, did you know people make millions just talking into microphones? Sure, honey. Most people also have interesting things to say. She starts researching podcast equipment, watching YouTube tutorials. I'm thinking about starting my own show. I have so much to share. Supportive husband mode activated. Tell her that sounds awesome. A few weeks later, she sets up a whole studio in our spare bedroom. Professional microphone, ring lights, soundproofing foam on the walls. Spent like $1,500 on equipment before recording one episode. It's an investment in our future. This could be my big break. Whatever makes you happy, Rose, just don't expect me to be your first guest. She spends weeks planning her podcast concept, taking it very seriously. It's going to be about relationships and personal growth through adversity. Sounds generic, but encouraging nonetheless. Marriage is about support, finally launches Rose-Colored Reality, One Woman's Journey to Truth. Terrible name, but she's excited, posts about it constantly on the social media. First episode is about finding your authentic voice in a world of facades. Pretty standard self-help content, nothing groundbreaking but harmless. Gets like 12 downloads, mostly from her family and friends. She's disappointed but determined, starts planning more episodes. Episode 2 drops. Notice the title mentions toxic relationships. Curious, decide to listen while doing dishes. Big mistake. Today I want to talk about recognizing emotional manipulation in marriage. Oh no, this is heading somewhere uncomfortable very quickly. She starts describing a husband who dismisses his wife's dreams and ambitions. Wait a minute, I've been nothing but supportive of this podcast nonsense. He pretends to care, but you can see the eye rolls and fake enthusiasm. When the hell have I ever rolled my eyes at your projects? She goes on for 30 minutes about subtle forms of marital gaslighting, using examples that sound suspiciously like our recent conversations. When I told him about my podcast idea, he said, "Sure, honey," in that patronizing tone. I said, "Sure, honey," because I was genuinely being supportive. You psycho. Downloads jump to 50. People love drama more than generic self-help. Rose is thrilled with the engagement, starts planning more relationship episodes. Episode 3. The silent treatment, when your partner shuts down communication. Describes a husband who gives one-word answers and avoids deep conversations. Lady, I give one-word answers because you talk for 40 minutes straight. Sometimes okay and sounds good are perfectly valid responses. She dramatically reads listener comments about recognizing similar patterns. Sarah from Denver says her husband does the exact same thing. Sarah from Denver doesn't know me. But sure, let's diagnose my communication style. Downloads hit 100. Rose is getting confident about her content. Starts incorporating more specific details about our marriage. Episode 4. Weaponized incompetence, when he can't even load a dishwasher. Spends 20 minutes roasting my dish loading technique to strangers. He puts the plates facing the wrong direction and acts like it's rocket science. There's no wrong direction for plates, Rose. They get clean regardless. Describes how I conveniently mess up chores, so she has to redo them. Or maybe I just load dishes differently than your obsessive-compulsive system. Listener count grows to 300. Comments section becomes a husband-bashing support group. My husband does this too. They're all the same. Weaponized incompetence is epidemic among millennial men. Great. Now I'm representing my entire generation's domestic failures. Rose starts getting sponsorship inquiries from lifestyle brands. Companies want to partner with authentic voices addressing real issues. Real issues like my apparently terrible dishwasher loading skills. Episode 5. The man-child phenomenon, living with Peter Pan syndrome. Oh good, now we're moving into personal attack territory. She describes a husband who refuses to grow up and take life seriously. Because I play video games twice a week and own vintage band t-shirts, he still acts like he's in college, avoiding adult responsibilities. I pay our mortgage, insurance, and handle all our finances, but okay, talks about how I waste money on childish hobbies and collectibles. My hobby budget is $50 a month, hardly breaking the bank. Downloads hit 500. Rose is convinced she's the next big podcast star. Starts treating our marriage like research material for content. Every argument becomes a future episode, takes mental notes during fights. That's interesting. Tell me more about why you feel that way. You're not my therapist, Rose. You're my wife having a normal disagreement. Catch her recording voice memos after we have minor conflicts. Note to self, explore gaslighting tactics in episode 7. Our marriage problems are being documented for public consumption. Episode 6. Emotional labor, inequality, the invisible burden women carry. Describes how she manages our entire household while I coast through life. Conveniently ignores that I handle all car maintenance, yard work, and finances. He thinks taking care of his own laundry is helping me out. Taking care of my own laundry is helping you out, by definition. Goes into detail about how I don't notice when we need groceries. Because you do the shopping and never mention we're running low on anything. Listener base grows to 1,000. Rose starts getting interview requests. Local morning show wants her to discuss modern marriage challenges. Great, now my personal life is being broadcast on actual radio. She accepts every interview, becomes the expert on dysfunctional relationships. Episode 7. Gaslighting 101, when reality becomes negotiable. Uses specific examples from our recent fights about her podcast. When I confronted him about his behavior, he claimed I was being dramatic. You are being dramatic. You're literally podcasting about our private conversations. Describes how I minimize her experiences and question her memory. I question your memory because you're rewriting history for entertainment. Classic gaslighting behavior is making your partner doubt their own perceptions. Or maybe your perceptions are warped by your need for podcast content. Downloads hit 1,500. Comment section becomes a Rose fan club. You're so brave for sharing your story. Your husband sounds exactly like my ex. Get out while you can. Strangers on the internet are now giving my wife marriage advice based on her biased stories. Episode 8. The Narcissist Next Door, Identifying Covert Manipulation. This title makes me nervous before I even press play. She describes a husband who makes everything about himself and lacks empathy. Spends 30 minutes analyzing my reaction to her podcast success. When I told him about my growing audience, he seemed threatened instead of proud. I seem concerned because you're sharing our private business with strangers. Narcissists can't handle their partner's success. It threatens their ego. Or maybe I'm uncomfortable being psychoanalyzed for public entertainment. Talks about how I dismiss her feelings and redirect conversations to myself. I redirect conversations away from your podcast because it's ruining our marriage. Downloads reach 2,000. Rose starts selling merchandise. Rose-colored reality, t-shirts and coffee mugs for her loyal listeners. People are literally buying products to support her husband-bashing hobby. She quits her marketing job to focus on podcasting full-time. This is my calling. I'm helping so many women recognize toxic patterns. Your calling is destroying our marriage for internet fame and t-shirt sales. Episode 9. Financial Abuse, When Money Becomes a Control Mechanism. Describes how I questioned her business expenses and financial decisions. I questioned spending $3,000 on podcast equipment with no income plan. He made me feel guilty for investing in myself and my dreams. I made you feel accountable for our shared bank account and budget. Talks about how I use money to control her choices and limit her freedom. I use money to pay our rent and utilities like a responsible adult. Financial abusers often disguise control as practical concerns. Practical concerns like not going broke, funding your amateur therapy hour, listener count hits 3,000, Rose gets invited to speak at women's conferences. Recognizing toxic masculinity in modern marriage becomes her signature topic. She's literally making money by publicly calling me toxic to audiences. Episode 10. Isolation Tactics, How Abusers Cut You Off from Support. Describes how I discourage her friendships and social activities. I discourage you from discussing our private life with everyone you meet. He gets uncomfortable when I talk to other people about our relationship. Because normal people don't broadcast their marriage problems for entertainment. Talks about how I create conflict with her friends and family. I create conflict by existing while you tell everyone I'm a terrible husband. Isolating behavior often looks like jealousy or concern for privacy. Or maybe I just want some aspects of our life to remain private. Downloads reach 5,000. Rose starts charging for premium content. Exclusive episodes with deeper insights and personal stories. People are paying money to hear more detailed complaints about me. Episode 11. The Victim Complex, When Abusers Play the Innocent Card. She's really going all in on the abuse narrative now. Describes how I act hurt and confused when confronted about my behavior. I act hurt because my wife is literally profiting from calling me abusive. Classic victim playing includes acting shocked and misunderstood. I'm shocked that you've turned our marriage into a public spectacle. Talks about how I make her feel guilty for speaking her truth. I make you feel guilty for monetizing our private relationship problems. Abusers often claim their victims are being unfair or biased. Victims don't usually have thousands of strangers validating their perspective. Listener base grows to 10,000. Rose gets a book deal offer. From Gaslighting to Freedom, One Woman's Podcast Journey to Liberation. My wife is writing a book about how terrible I am. This is surreal. Episode 12. The Breaking Point, When Enough is Finally Enough. This sounds like it's building to something dramatic. She talks about recognizing when a relationship can't be saved. Describes feeling emotionally drained by constant manipulation and control. Lady, the only thing being manipulated here is your audience's sympathy. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away from toxic situations. Sometimes being honest means admitting you're exploiting your marriage for fame. Talks about plans for reclaiming her life and building healthy boundaries. Your plan seems to involve divorce and a book tour. Very healthy indeed. Downloads hit 15,000. Rose becomes a minor internet celebrity. gets invited on bigger podcasts to discuss her journey from victim to survivor. Our marriage counselor suggests we both listen to the episodes together. Worst therapy session ever, sitting there while my wife's complaints play on speakers. Do you recognize these patterns in your behavior? The therapist asks. I recognize my wife turning our private conversations into public content. Rose cries about how hard it's been living with someone who doesn't validate her experiences. I'm sitting right here. Why don't you validate my experience of being publicly humiliated? Therapy becomes about managing my reaction to her podcast rather than actual marriage issues. We need to work on your defensiveness and resistance to feedback. The feedback is coming from strangers who only know your version of events. Episode 13. Life after toxicity, rebuilding your identity. She's already planning her post-marriage content, apparently. Talks about discovering who you are outside of a controlling relationship. You're discovering who you are as a professional victim with a podcast empire. Describes feeling lighter and more authentic since starting her show. You feel lighter because you've transferred all our problems to internet strangers. Sharing my story has been incredibly healing and empowering. Sharing our story without consent has been incredibly damaging to our marriage. Announces she's moving out to focus on her healing journey. Also announces a live tour where she'll perform podcast episodes for audiences. People will pay to watch my wife complain about me in person. Capitalism is wild. Rose packs her stuff and podcast equipment, moves to a studio apartment. Her exit interview becomes episode 14, The Day I Chose Myself. Describes leaving as the hardest but most necessary decision of her life. Describes me as confused and resistant to her growth, refusing to change. I'm confused why my wife chose internet fame over marriage counseling. Final episode is a Q&A where listeners ask about her escape from abuse. Someone asks if she feels bad about airing private details publicly. Healing requires truth, and truth sometimes makes people uncomfortable. Truth would require presenting both sides, not just your victim narrative. Someone asks if she misses being married. I miss the person I thought he was, not the person he actually turned out to be. I turned out to be the same person you married. You just needed content. Podcast ends with her promoting the book and upcoming speaking tour. Rose-colored reality will continue as I help other women recognize their worth. Your worth is apparently measured in downloads and book sales. 6 months later, her book becomes a bestseller in the self-help category. From gaslighting to freedom, gets reviewed in major publications. Critics praise her brave honesty and relatable storytelling. Relatable because every marriage has problems, not because I'm actually abusive. She gets her own talk show segment and becomes a relationship expert. Meanwhile, I'm single, dating carefully, worried every conversation might become content. Potential girlfriends Google my name and find articles about Rose's escape story. Aren't you the guy from that podcast about emotional abuse? Yes, I'm the guy whose wife became famous by calling him toxic. Rose sends me a copy of her book with a note. Hope you can learn from this. The dedication reads, to all the women who haven't found their voice yet. Apparently finding your voice means broadcasting your husband's flaws for profit. Book tour takes her across the country speaking about recognizing abuse. She's literally making 6 figures by telling people, I was a terrible husband. Divorce finalized, she keeps the podcast revenue and book royalties. I keep the house and the knowledge that my marriage was performance art. Year later, Rose announces she's dating someone new on her podcast. He's everything my ex wasn't, supportive, emotionally available, growth-oriented. Give it 6 months before this guy becomes season 2 of your victim story. Sometimes I wonder if she actually believed her own narrative or just needed content. Either way, she turned marital complaints into a media empire. Learned that some people will sacrifice anything for fame, including their marriage. Also learned to be very careful about what I say around anyone with a microphone. Rose got her freedom and her book deal. I got my privacy back. Turns out we both got what we actually wanted, just not how we expected.